Listening to him speak there, Sam, and listening to him speak as well in the week and obviously out of the Champions League now, talking about how some of the players struggle now with playing every 3 days. You wonder whether what looked maybe like evolution in January could well become full revolution in the summer.
Yeah, that seems to be the direction of travel. And I think we saw that, as you say, in January with the players coming in and the kind of rejuvenation and refreshing of the squad, which I think most people accept now that City waited a bit too long for that, and that Pep Guardiola specifically was a bit too loyal to the players who had got over the line for so many years for him. And that's totally understandable. That's a human reaction, I think, that these guys had done it for so long. But I think football is increasingly a game of legs as well as brains, and they haven't quite had that this season. I think that's been their main issue, that the physicality. And you mentioned that with the playing every 3 days and the demands that it takes to do that at that level. And you can just see it. Even someone like Kevin De Bruyne, who's playing sort of once a week, and when he's playing, he's not the player he was in terms of his physicality and his movement. And yes, I expect City will be investing quite a lot of money in quite a lot of very talented and mobile young players, and will be very good next season again.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because Darren rightly has talked about having Plan B or tweaking your identity, and with respect to Ruben Amorim, but hearing him say, well, maybe we do need to go away from the sort of possession bait. He talks a lot this season about my team is set up to have the ball all the time. And some of those words like energy and speed you're talking about, and him using teams like Bournemouth and Brentford as a little bit of a keystone of where he eventually wants to get to with a new City.
Yeah, I wonder if that's sort of the evolution of the Premier League in general. And if you look at the most expensive players in the last couple of years, Declan Rice is probably one of the most mobile midfielders in Europe, and then Moises Caicedo is one of the most explosive midfielders in Europe too. That physicality element, and someone even at Brighton now like Carlos Baleba, for example, when he moves, it's going to be for a lot of money. He's a player of huge talent, and I think that's, Pep came through at Barcelona as his coaching days, and that team was built around diminutive players who pass. I feel like these days, the way football's going is you need that technical ability plus the physical ability too. Like you can't just have a bruiser in there and a runner, but you equally can't have someone who's just a passer and can't do the running. It's almost like they're kind of all court players, I think, in basketball terms. They're all big, they're all quick, they're all strong, and they can all also play. And maybe the City have slightly lost that balance as the team has aged a bit, and they'll probably correct that in the summer.
As we touched on earlier, Darren, when we spoke to Melissa, Erling Haaland sat and watched on Tuesday, Wednesday night. They all roll into one nowadays. Wednesday night, I think it was, wasn't it? But Erling Haaland against Virgil van Dijk should be a great matchup if we get to see it today.
It absolutely should. The irresistible force against the immovable object. The numbers are interesting because 4 games played against Liverpool, only 1 goal scored in 360 minutes, expected goals of 1.39. And look at that, the third one, shots 14. 8 of which have been on target, but hasn't provided any assists, it would appear. But Liverpool almost is kryptonite, if you like. But we know that there is... His big issue is that he has set himself such a high bar. And I think in British sport, let alone football, sometimes sporting entities, whether it's in the ring, the track, the court, whatever, when you're brilliant, eventually people start looking for, all right, what else? And they look elsewhere. So they forget that, in his case, he won the treble in the first season, scoring, 58 goals in 57 matches? It might be 52 and 53, forgive me. And then you've got the following season, he wins the Golden Boot. And so suddenly he's set himself such a high bar that if he doesn't score a hat-trick in a game, people say, well, what did he do? Or if he only has 8 touches and scores 1 goal, what did he do? And there is so much disrespect for Erling Haaland. And so I'm always happy to see him in the conversation for the Golden Boot. And I think this afternoon they will underestimate him at Anfield. Actually, I don't think they will underestimate him. But anyone who does write him off might get a rude awakening.
Am I right in thinking it's a similar record against Villa, 1 in 4? Interesting that those are the 2 teams with the highest defensive line in the Premier League, probably, over the last couple of years. Haaland's not really scored against either of them. I don't know what that means, but it's something.
Worth an email to Pep, isn't it, Sam? I see what he thinks about that.
But all these teams turn up City and play with a deep block, and Haaland scores, and then the teams that play with a high line, Haaland doesn't seem to score as much. So.
Can I just make one quick point before you move on? I think as far as City are concerned, what's quite interesting about their transition is that they brought players in mid-season. So Marmoush Vito Heiss, Kusinov, they will have this half of the season to get used to the physicality, to get used to going to the difficult places where the grounds are tight and the fans are on top of you. And I think that is going to help massively as far as the transition to English football is concerned for all of them. Marmoush looks to have made that transition already. We'll talk about him later in the show. But I certainly think that we're going to see a different City next season. Imagine Gonzalez in midfield alongside Rodri, that brick wall in front of that back four. Suddenly they're going to be a very different team.